G'day guys, Tommy Wood here. Today we're going to be doing a little video on a series I want to start up about breaking down a lake. So every 2 weeks I'm going to pick a lake, everywhere between Tinaroo to Lake Monduran, all impoundment barramundi fishing. And I'm going to pick a different time of the year, such as spring, summer, winter. And we're going to go through all these seasons and I'm going to show you where I would start to try and catch a barra in one of these big lakes. So we're going to start at Lake Monduran. It's one I know pretty well. I grew up there and my dad guided on there for about 18 years. So I learned a lot from him and we fished it a lot over the years. And now that we got live scope as well as the new Garmin charts, you can really see why fish are pulling up in different areas at different times of the year. So we're gonna go through all the stuff I've learned, some of the baits that I reckon are gonna be best. So if you're gonna go there for the first time, you know what to throw and where to go. And it's gonna be a fun little series, I reckon, just breaking down different lakes. We're going to go through things like wind, creek channels on the chart, as well as bony brim spawn. Like this time in spring, the bony brim spawn. So once you get to that sort of 20 to 25 degrees of constant warm weather, in the mornings, early morning and late in the afternoons, those bony brim will gather on these long sloping points and they will spawn, and all these barra will pull up and they'll feed on them. So we're going to go through a lot of that, as well as where to find these fish and how to target them. And yeah, let's get into it. Just want to say a big thanks to the team at Samaki. They are sponsoring this little series and they're going to be giving me a prize pack of lures at the end of each video to give away to you guys. So if you guys just hit the subscribe button on the channel, as well as drop a comment, you'll be put in the draw to win this prize pack and we'll send it out to you. So just make sure you do those two things and you could be winning a pack of lures. So let's have a look at this lake now. All right, so here we are at Lake Monduran. This is the Navionics Vision Plus chart, and we've got this whole thing mapped out. We've got it color coded. We'll just go into these depth shading real quick. So this is the colors I'm running at different depth. Pretty much red's obviously shallow, just goes down to dark blue is the deepest. So the first thing when we look at this map, this is a huge place. So in springtime, the first thing that we're going to be looking for is shallow water. So these fish are going to be moving up to the shallower areas because it's going to be warmer. The bait's going to be up there spawning up on those shallow points. And to start, there's a lot of arms and a lot of creeks. To simplify it, we're going to go to the place that has the most shallow water. So you can see right here, this is the B section. This is the northern arm of B as well as the southern arm of B. And you can just see how much shallow water we have here. So all that orange and yellows and greens, that's all shallow water. So coming up the southern arm of B, we've got a few awesome looking points, flats, and we can see this creek channel coming in. So big thing to pay attention to is this creek channel, because fish use this like a highway. So during the night in winter, water temp's going to be getting colder. So all this shallow water is going to be dropping real cold, and these fish will pull back out of the creek channel. Sun comes up, these fish are going to move to these points, these long points like this, long shallow points. As it's warming up, rises like this. This is actually a point called Peppered Point. It comes out of the water at a lower level. And these fish are going to be pulling up here, feeding on bony brim in the morning. And all that shallow water is going to warm up so quick with the hot sun coming into the spring. And those fish are going to move up in there, up to 3 foot, 4 foot. And it can be some of the funnest fishing, because what we have here, we got a big creek channel coming in here. It's swinging right around, big point, flats either side. And these are just great feeding spots for these barra to sit and feed. So coming in here, big channel swinging here. So these fish are going to travel through here, feel this warm water. They're going to push up in here, and all these big flats in here are going to be full of fish. So best thing to do, I'd get in here, start idling around till you sort of find the right sort of bank, and just start fishing. Once you start seeing fish, just get up and cast. Just use side scan. I wouldn't put live scope down straight away because you can get sort of stuck on one spot. Just start working these banks, and when you see fish, just drop a mark. When you see more than average fish, you can turn around and fish them for a bit longer. But I fished this section through here a fair bit, and this section here, you can see where the creek channel comes in really close. Caught a lot of fish along here, and as the creek channel separates from the bank, you stop seeing fish right up shallow up in here, and they're more closer to they're a lot closer to that creek channel. So just goes to show how reliant they are. They like to stay near deep water this time of the year because the temperatures can change so dramatically. And that's probably the first spot I'd be looking. Springtime, coming into September, October. If I was in Monduran, that is probably one of the best places I'd start. If the water's a bit deeper, you know, you can get right at the back here and have a look. But yeah, just looking for that sort of stuff. You can see there's plenty of it up in here. This is Cow Bay, great bay. It's got a big creek channel that comes in, just feeds this whole bay, and they can push right up the back here. On Google Maps, you can actually see a creek channel that comes through here, where the fish can travel through, feed up on these back points, these back edges, all these sections through here as well. You can see we've got this major creek channel swinging through here, coming around, and what these fish can do overnight when that surface water goes cold, pull out deep. As soon as it starts warming up, they get up here and they feed up in super shallow water. And it can be awesome. You can use small baits, swim baits and stuff like that. Once you find a big pile of fish, you can hone in, put the live scope down, and just start catching them. So that's what I'd sort of be looking for during the spring as we come down the dam. This sort of top end of the dam is going to stay a lot dirtier than down the bottom. So for your daytime fishing, I'd probably focus on this sort of area of the B as you come into night. I know a lot of these shallow spots up here sort of struggle at night, that time of the year for me, so I usually come down towards this Bird Bay area. This bottom section, heaps of great flats down here. Again, you can see there's a lot of deep channels. They're pretty good in winter because they're a bit more deep. They hold their warmer temperature. But as you come up to the back, once this springtime heat's coming through, all this back water is going to be heating up, and stuff like this major point. We got two arms going up here. If you look here on maps, we'll pull maps up here in a second. You will actually see all of this. There's two creek channels that come through here where the fish are going to travel down, and they're going to separate, feed up on these flats, and also feed on that major point in the morning and afternoons when those bony bream are spawning. So we might pull out in there and have a look. Alright, so this is Lake Monduran here. Just got it on Apple Maps. It's a really good photo of this lake at the moment because this photo was taken when it was a lot lower, so we can see all these creek channels coming through. And this is our main point here in the middle, and you can see down here this tree line that comes through here. That is exactly where that creek channel runs. So either side, all these big yellow flats is all through here. So those fish can travel through that tree line there, come up on these flats, feed during the day, and move straight out at night. And places like this point are just absolutely awesome. Can't go wrong with points. They're always a good ambush point for barramundi. Up the back here, we can see this creek channel again, and you can see it follows out through this line of trees. It does a big S-bend there, comes out, comes across this other side, and that's what you want to be looking for. Just big flats with creek channels in them, so those fish can travel up there. And we might go have a look at this section up in B as well. So this will be up in B. Where are we? So that is our island there, which is just here, up in Southern Arm. And you can see the back of this bay, which is down here. You can see this major creek that comes through. So this comes right out here. There's a big S bend again, and it just follows that tree line all the way through. So those fish are gonna use that as a highway again, pull up either side and feed on those flats, and you'll have an awesome session up there if they're up there shallow. So all these areas will, when you've got, all these areas are gonna work when you got nice warm trends with warm water. These fish are gonna pull up on here. And one main thing to think about is wind direction. So this time of the year, it doesn't really matter what way the wind's blowing, as long as you have consistent wind. So if we look at the dam, say we got a northerly wind, it's going to be pumping straight on this bank here. So it's just going to be hammering along this bank. It's going to be pushing all the bait, all those bony bream, oxygen, everything. There's just going to be all stirred up water going along here. Heaps of action. So this is probably the side you want to focus on if it's been blowing northerlies for like the last couple of days. And that goes for any sort of wind. Even if it's blowing southerlies, like you can fish that point, this point here, anything that's going to be copping a lot of that wind. But all this sort of stuff, you get in a nor'easter, it's going to be pumping straight down this bank. Even easterlies and southeasterlies, it's going to be pumping straight up on there. That's called Cow Bay. There's just so many little areas. So I don't usually focus on this main river sort of stuff. Places like this point, these rises out here, they're really good in the late summer when the water's really warm and fish are relating to deep water a lot. They'll pull up there on bite times. But for spring, you really want to focus on your charts at the back of these pockets and all these big flats. Like look at this big flat up the side of this creek channel. We got creeks running right up into pockets. This is up in Jack's Bay. That's a really good little bay up in there. And you can do it everywhere. This is up the 2 mile. You can see where the creek runs in. And yeah, just find that warm water where those fish are going to move up there and feed on that bait. All right, so now that you have looked at charts, you've been all through Apple Maps or Google Maps, Google Earth, you found all these spots you want to fish, you finally get there. The best bait that I can recommend to you to find fish is a paddle tail swim bait. Don't go too big, just stay around that 5 to 6 inch range. Even 4 inch can be good. During the spring, these fish are eating small bonies, they're spawning, they're schooling up, and they're chasing these big balls of baits all over the flats. So there's hundreds of paddle tail plastics on the market. You've got Sicarios, Hollabellies, the new Dr. Shad is an awesome one, the 120 mil size. There's Hollabellies, there's everything. There's little Molex 120s. There's so much on the market. Some of the old school ones here, black gold slicker rig, it's done by Shimano. You have to do a lot of work to them to get them to swim and rig them up with stingers and everything. But the beauty of this is you can put a ½ ounce weight in it and it's nice and light. You can put that big SL12 in there, run a big stinger on the bottom, they still swim. I just melt them up with a bit of soldering iron on there. And I just burn that across shallow flats until I start finding fish, and they get bit all year round. But this time of the year in spring, ½ ounce is my favourite. Keeps it up nice and shallow and fish in shallow water. Another old school favourite is just the old Hollabelly. They've been around for years. One of the original baits that sort of we started using for Barra back in, I think, 2005 sort of thing, when they first sort of come out to Australia. And just rigged up on a light jig head. If I'm not fishing a tournament, I just tend to fish them like this, no stinger. They just get a few more bites, and then during tournaments, if I need it, I will put a stinger on there. But if you don't need to, if you're just fishing for fun, that can be a great way to just fish them. Usually if you hook them, it's going to be in the corner of the jaw, no messy stuff. So start with your paddle tail plastics, work edges. I usually just get the boat nice and far off the bank, get my side scan right out so I can see the edge of the bank, so I'm seeing the distance between the boat all the way to the edge. I'll just fire out long casts. A nice long rod, there's a new one that we designed for this sort of technique, is the new Zing. So this is the new Zing. It's a medium heavy, moderate fast. So it's a softer tip. This is the new Zing. Super nice looking rod. It's a 7.4, so you can fire out these long casts. And what we did to most other rods is we've given this thing a nice soft tip, so It's super spongy on the tip. You still got your backbone down further. But when you're fishing 50-pound braid, there's no give. There's no stretch when those fish bite it. So all that rod tip is designed for is to give when they suck it in, and you're going to get that better hookup. So these are pretty cheap too. They're on the market of Barra rods. This is probably one of the cheaper ones. But I tell you what, they don't feel cheap. They're an awesome rod. So if you're in the market for that sort of style of rod, this Zing is absolutely killer. I've been so happy with it. We designed them just for this technique. We've got a few other ones coming out, like the heavy version. This is for like bigger stuff, like your bigger mollusks, your bigger Dr. Shads, your bigger Sicarios. It's a bit heavier action, so it can handle those bigger baits. But once you find those fish, you find a big group of them on that flat, drop a mark, put your live scope down, and that's when you can really work with some of your favourite sonar baits. And without a doubt, one of the biggest barramundi live scope baits that has sort of come up has been the Samaki Reddick. So this thing can be, you can fish it normally without live scope, but it shows up so well on live scope. It's a nice bright image because it's a nice hard bait, and they suspend perfect. So they come with these BKK hooks. Suspend perfect will just sort of find a fish and put it in front of its nose. The only trouble with the DS80 this time of the year is they dive really deep really quick, which makes it good for the rest of the year. But when you're up on these shallow flats, it can be a bit too deep. So we designed the MS90. This is the Samaki 90mm medium swimming Reddick. Through wire construction, all comes with YS81s. This is one of the first demo ones, and it caught a heap of fish up in shallow flats at Faust in the springtime. But staying shallow, MS90 is going to be one of the best jerk baits you can get. It's going to stay shallow, stay up in those fish's face when they're moving through and feeding. And then when they're shut down, and you can see on live scope, they're sort of on the bottom, or if you're seeing on side scan, they're not moving through as much. I tend to drop down a vibe. A vibe can be such a great technique. And the cool thing with this lure, it's called the Samaki Hard Licious. So the old vibe licious, still a great lure, but when they're up shallow, this is a slow sinking vibe. So because it's hard, it's full of air, so it just sinks super slow, nice controlled, straight full. It's not twisting around, spiraling down or anything. It's just nice and natural. So on these cool attempts, it's not going to spook those fish as much. And all you need to do is just give it two little short, sharp, like jabs at the rod, or even just one, just to pop it off the ground, kick a bit of dust, and on that fall, these barrels suck it in. Because it's such a lightweight lure, they usually get it right down the throat, which means for a good hookup. And yeah, it's just a killer lure this time of year if you're fishing shallow and they're shut down. So those are some of the baits that I usually run up there. You can't really go wrong with any of them in the springtime anywhere around the country. I think as long as you find that shallow water, the warmer water, and follow your wind. So look into your apps like Windy. It's a great app to look at. It'll show you what way the wind's blowing, and you can sort of pick apart which side of the lake you want to fish. And look at the wind for the last couple of days. You want consistent wind, consistency over everything. Doesn't matter if it's a cold wind, as long as it's consistent. Follow that bank. That's where the bait's going to be, and that's where the fish are going to be. And just start fishing. So, well, I hope that sort of helped you guys out. If you're looking to go to Lake Monduran in the springtime, that's some of my favorite spots, and that's probably where I'd start, and they're the baits that I'd use. So if you're interested in any of the Garmin gear, like the char card or the screens, we sell it all here in the shop on the Sunshine Coast, or you can even check us out on the website. I'll put the link in below. And yeah, thank you for all your support. It goes a long way. If you're looking to go into the draw to win the Samaki prize, make sure you subscribe, comment anything down below, and you'll be in the draw. So next lake, we might either do Lake Awonga or Tinaroo. See what we're feeling. We're gonna do one of these videos every 2 weeks, and we're just gonna keep them rolling, do different times of the year. And yeah, so it should be good. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.